Hello, and welcome to the Alumni Lecture Series. Tonight we have Chris Gunther. He's a native of Youngstown, Ohio. He graduated from Ursuline High School, where he lettered in varsity basketball, and continued his academic career at Youngstown State University, earning his bachelor's degree in telecommunications. During his time at YSU, Chris had a weekly talk show on Rookery Radio entitled The Chris Gunther Show, where he interviewed celebrities in gospel music. He covered YSU men basketball and women's basketball, and he won several awards, including the Rising Star Award and Who's Who at YSU Award. He continues his show on social media, conducting interviews with celebrities and professional athletes. Welcome, Chris. How are you doing tonight?
Miss Jackson, good to see you.
This is so fun because you were my student for many classes.
Sure was.
And so just to see you as a successful YSU graduate, it's a great honor.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me. It feels good to be home. No place like home.
Exactly.
And no place like Yokes and Slaves University, aka YSU. I'm just joking because at the end of the day, Youngstown State University was definitely one of the best decisions I ever made.
Okay, well, tell us about coming to YSU and choosing your major. Did you know your major before you started at YSU?
I did. I did. When I was...
Okay, first, your major was telecommunications.
Yes.
You never strayed from that or changed?
Never.
Okay.
I stayed consistent with my TCOM and then minored in communications. And I knew since I was 16, this is what I wanted to do. Since I was
What
16.
did you do at 16 to show that you wanted to do this later?
Well, I was playing basketball, and one weekend I went to go visit my aunt and uncle in Medina, and there was a youth night there, and the guest speaker was Chris Broussard, who was working for ESPN at that time. And I watched Chris Broussard every day. I watched him, Stephen A. Smith, and Stuart Scott, and I said, I want to do that. So we go up to the church, and my uncle knew somebody from Chris Broussard's camp, and we go out to dinner afterwards. So imagine at 16 years old, you're going out to dinner with somebody that
With
you
your
watch like
idol.
every day.
Nice.
And I'm asking them a bunch of questions, of course about Shaq and Kobe and LeBron, and what did it take to work for ESPN. And I knew right then and there. I was like, you know what? I'm not dying until I do this. So I have to do it.
Wow.
So I knew it since I was 16.
Nice. So then you got here to YSU. So what were some of your activities that you did at YSU? Or tell us a little bit about your journey from day one until you graduated.
Day one, I was a nervous wreck, fresh out of high school, trying to figure out, is college really for me? But within a few moments, I knew I made the right choice. So, but believe it or not, and most people are going to be shocked when I say this, I was extremely quiet when I first came here. Yeah, I know, shocker, right?
Yeah, not in my class.
Well, I was an upperclassman at that point. I had a little bit more
okay.
meat on my bones so I could say something. But I was very quiet. I didn't say a whole lot. Went to, the rec center to play basketball, and I was really not quiet on the court, but that's a conversation for a different day. But I started to play ball, kind of came out of my shell a little bit, and one day I was in a professor's class, and we went to go visit Rookery Radio. Little did I know Rookery was going to become home for me.
So tell us what Rookery Radio is. A lot of people might not be familiar with that.
Rookery Radio, Real College Radio. Yeah, it's crazy how I still remember it too. Oh my goodness. Call in number 330-941-4010. Bam. But Rookery was so much fun. It's a college-based radio station, and everybody is literally listening to you around the world. I didn't know this, but I think it was my sophomore year. I had somebody tuned in all the way from New York. I was like, wow.
Wow.
And then I had a guest call in who was a guest pastor in London. So
my
imagine, me being a sophomore and I'm interviewing a pastor in London. I'm like, yo, this is dope.
Wow.
Oh, it's so much fun though. But Rookery is a college radio station. No such thing as you can't do it. Everybody was welcome to it. And I had a lot of fun during my time there.
So what type of music did you play, and what was your role? Were you a DJ the whole time, or did you take on other roles at Rookery?
First year, I did hip hop, R&B, and gospel, and there's no way that I can be on here without having to give a.
Wait. Did you have 3 different shows, or
No, it was all in one.
All in one? Okay.
So it was myself and my co-host. Can't be on here without bringing her up because she actually played a big chapter when I first got here. Her name was Catherine Thompson, and the show was called the KTCG Show. I guarantee you Kenny Reyes is looking at this laughing because he remembers all the KT and CG moments. And, there's no way I can be here without giving Kenny all of some love and things of that
Who's
nature.
Kenny?
Oh man, for those of you that don't know, Kenny Reyes was the guy who took me under his wing, and Kenny Reyes, in my opinion, is and was Rookery Radio. Reason why I say that is because he was the advisor, but he did so many more things behind the scenes. He
Right.
was constantly helping out other people, helping people get their shows started, showing them what to do, what not to do. And he took a lot of time out with me. So, I definitely
Right.
wanted to, shed some love to him. Kenny, appreciate you, man.
Yeah, Kenny's actually a friend of mine. I was just throwing that out there, like, who's
Yeah,
Kenny? But yeah, Kenny ran. He was the manager. He managed Rookery Radio for a
sure
long
did.
time, and he actually did shows outside of the actual studio. You guys used to DJ at some of the YSU events and things like that. Did you ever do that?
Sure did. He was the first guy to do remote shows at different locations. And
Mm.
then he showed me how to do it. I'll never forget this one time I was coming down on campus and he said, "Hey bro, come with me." So we go with him and I'm with him. We go to Kill Cawley and it's the silent disco, the first silent disco that ever happened. And when I tell you we had that place rocking, I
I've
mean from
never gone to a
when
silent disco. I
you don't
want
know
to
what
go
you
to
missing.
one. I
It
want
is
to.
so it was so much fun because we had people leaving other events to come to our event. We were right downstairs at Kill Cawley in the Chestnut Room. You had Kenny on one side, my boy DJ Nas on one side, and my boy DJ Jamal on the other side. And then you got me on the mic rocking out with the people to the point where I'm going down there doing the wobble, the Cupid shuffle, so many amazing things. And then Kenny was like, "Bro, you got a job to do." I'm like, "I am doing my job." So much fun though, so much fun.
I missed them. And now with COVID, I probably won't ever get to one. I've been told that they are so fun and it's just interesting just to watch,
Oh
even if
yeah.
you don't have the headsets on. You get to
It's
watch
so
other
much
people.
fun to watch. I think it's even more fun is when people just come together, because college is very stressful.
Hmm.
But get a chance to break away from studying, break away from all the anxieties, just come have a good time.
Exactly. So you did Rookery. Now, were you DJing outside of Rookery or like doing your own personal thing or no?
No, I wasn't. I was extremely focused on doing rookery. I wanted to be the best. I wanted to make sure that I was giving it my all every time I stepped on the mic. And then my work ethic outside of rookery, I think, is what prepared me. Because with a lot of people, they see what I'm doing now, but they don't realize that it all started here 7 years ago, ironically, this month. It's crazy because I was 18 years old when I first started,
Oh.
and I had wanted to kind of bring like the vibe between Martin Lawrence and the Martin and Will Smith and the Fresh Prince and combine them together. And I said, you know what? I'm going to be the Fresh Prince slash Martin on Rookery. And
Okay.
yeah, and people could probably laugh at it, but I knew even right there I was gonna be that driven and that focused.
Nice.
And so 7 years ago is when it all started.
So name one big event that came out of DJing at Rookery? I know of one event. So I want you to talk about that.
So one event was called the Chris Gunther Show Live, and
Hmm.
it was my way of saying thank you to my listeners. So what I would do is at the end of every semester, I would throw myself a finale, and I would have somebody who was big time in gospel or locally well known in gospel music come down, and we'd have a phenomenal time. I'm talking praise and worship and preaching, and then hearing people's testimonies calling in or calling me saying, "Man, I really enjoyed your live show." And that really made me say, wow. Like, I remember my very last one. It was kind of a bittersweet moment because I'm like, man, I can't do this after. But when I tell you that was the best one I had by
Wow.
far. And yeah, so many people called me up when I left and was like, man, we going to miss you next year. I'm like, the feeling is mutual, guys, because I gave them my all.
Was it difficult being a Christian DJ?
Very difficult because
Why?
it was difficult because it had never been done before, and those that tried to do it weren't successful at it. And then I was getting bashed because I started actually preaching the word on the air. It was something that hadn't been done. I was getting phone calls saying you can't preach on the air, you can't say Jesus on the air because you have to have the separation between religion and radio. And I ignored all of that because I told God, this is what I want to do. And true story. So I did my first season on Rookery with the KT and CG show. We did hip hop, R&B, and gospel. Well, when it was time to transition from that, the Lord told me just go back to gospel. And I had been curious, like, go back how? After the success we had one of the biggest shows to ever debut. And I'm like, go back to gospel. Why am I gonna leave? Like, huh? But I just remembered hearing God's voice as clear as I'm talking to you. Go back to gospel. And the Lord told me, if you just trust me, I'll blow your mind. Next thing I know, I'm #1 every year, interviewing celebrities every week, preaching every week, having numerous people call in and say, man, we really enjoy what you're doing. And
Nice.
to be #1 for 4 years, even doing gospel, I mean, to God be the glory.
Yes, definitely. So people should hold true to their values and their morals and their faith,
Yeah,
regardless. Because I know a lot of times when you're in college, you have that pressure to kind of give up your faith to fit in to everyone else into whatever's going on campus.
I had a lot of pressure. But I knew if I succumb to it, then I'm no different from everybody else.
Right.
But I also knew if I stand out and don't do what everybody's doing, then I'm really gonna be different from everybody else.
Right.
So you're gonna be different either way. So you might as well be different doing something that you love.
Right, right. My motto for my son and I, we have a poster in our house that says, you have to be odd to be #1.
It's very true. I'm
So-
gonna use that. I don't know when I'm gonna use it, but I'm gonna use it.
So every time I go, Jabril, you're strange, he'll go, yeah, you got to be odd to be #1.
I
I'm
love
like,
it.
Yeah, you're right.
You have an
You're right.
amazing kid too, by the way.
Thank you so much.
I wish I had long hair like him too. Like, oh man, that'd be so cool.
So wait, I know that you went to the Stellar Awards.
Yeah.
Didn't that have something to do with Rookery or
Everything
that
to do with
transition,
it.
or-
So I remember getting ready to graduate, and one of my boys, somebody who I look up to, Carrington Griffin, actually.
Do you know Carrington was in my 5th grade classroom?
KG was in the 5th grade. Wow.
He was in my 5th grade classroom, and I have many stories about Carrington. And he was an exceptional student.
Yeah.
And they didn't see him as exceptional at the time because he was just a clown and he'd play around.
Yep.
And by the end of the school year, they wanted to put him in every gifted class that was available.
Yeah.
Because I kept shining. I was like, no, this kid is exceptional. I love Carrington. But anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Right. So Carrington had told me about it, and he was telling me, maybe you should try to think about the Stellars.
Nice.
And my good friend Jeffrey Golden was talking about it too. And I had been kind of curious, like, well, exactly. I knew what it was, but how do I get in there?
Right.
So I go online, I hear about it, and I actually missed the deadline. I missed the deadline. I'm like, there's no way they're going to get me.
You miss deadlines a lot, don't you?
Well, yes.
This is the second
and no.
deadline story that you've told me today.
Well, let's just say the first deadline story. If I reveal it on camera, y'all going to look at me like, no, Chris, it's the God's honest truth, people. But
Okay, Stellar Awards deadline.
right.
Let's stay with
So
that.
missed the deadline. I'm like, they're not going to pick me. And I get home. It was like, I think a few weeks later, I get home and there's an email and it says you've been selected to come cover this like Stellars. And my outlet was Rookery Radio. And the first person I called was Kenny. I'm like, dude, you're coming with me. And I'm like, there's no way I'm going out here without bringing you, man.
Okay, first, for people who might not know, what's the Stellar Awards?
The Stellar Awards is equivalent to what the Grammy Awards is for gospel music.
Right.
It is the biggest award show you can think of, from Kirk Franklin to Mary Mary. Anybody that's big in gospel and quartet music, they get invited. And when you're a media outlet, only the best of the best come. And I was like, wow. And let me go ahead and put this in here too. Last year in 2019, I actually got denied going out there. And I was like, man, after all of the work I put in just to get here and then to get rejected, I said, man. But this year, coronavirus happened and they did what was called the first ever digital press conference for the Stellars.
Oh, wow.
And I was selected to be a part of it. And all I could think about was you just got to keep working because
Right.
delayed is never denied.
Yeah, don't give up. And you did a good job.
Thank you.
I watched it.
Appreciate it.
And
Thank you.
You picked with Kirk Franklin a little
Oh
bit and all the
yeah,
rest.
Kirk was so fun to kind of get on because of what happened. But hey,
Tell
Kirk,
them what happened. Let's share that.
Okay, so true story, guys. In 2015, my first year officially doing solo, Kirk Franklin was coming here to Youngstown State. No, he wasn't coming to Youngstown
Stanball.
State. Stanball, correct. And I reached out to Kirk for an interview. And originally they told me no, but the ticket sales weren't doing as good. So somehow Kirk's people got in touch with Stanball. Stanball got in touch with me and said, Kirk wants to talk to you.
Nice.
And I'm like, okay, cool. So I promote it, go crazy. Kirk never calls into my show. Anybody that knows me knows when somebody cancels on me, I am extremely upset. Like, I'm light skinned, I turn pink, and everything is a wrap when I'm mad, right? Well, after I calm down, I go I go home, Stanball calls me, and they say that there was some kind of lack of communication. And then Kirk Franklin's people called me too. And they said that they wanted to make sure that I had tickets to come to the show. So like, all right, fine. Well, I'm somebody that isn't really afraid of things. So I tried to go back and talk to Kirk right then and there so I can get my interview and go home. And Kirk Franklin had this bodyguard at the time who was like a mix between Suge Knight and Terry Crews. And he had a hat on too. I think it was like a New York Yankees hat or something. And I looked at him and I'm like, yeah, there's no way Kirk is giving me this interview today. So I leave, and a few days later, Kirk called into my show and we talked about it on the air. And Kirk was like, oh man, Chris, I'm sorry, man, I didn't know. I'm like, I mean, of course you didn't know because you have no control over that. But yeah, I definitely, had to bring it up when I talked to him on Zoom, and that was so much funny.
That was
so much
funny.
fun.
It was so funny. He's like, man, okay, next show, you definitely will be backstage. I will see you. You're going to have to hold him to that, though.
Now, yeah, because y'all know me. I don't lie now. So there we go.
Well, I'm sure your name is in his brain.
I hope so.
So when they say Chris Gunther, he'll know your name. At least, I mean, see, that's the plug right there. As long as he knows your name and he hears it, he's like, no, let that guy back.
So much fun. So much fun.
That's good. That's good. So you go through YSU, you do Rookery, you do the Stellar Awards, you do all of this stuff, and then graduation comes. And how did you navigate like your senior year or right before you graduated or when you did graduate?
I was a nervous wreck before graduation. And here's why. Because I didn't have a job lined up like I thought I was. I was doing the very best I could. Academically, I knew I was going to be fine because I had already won as many awards as possible. I was already on the academic luncheon and who's who at YSU, so that wasn't my issue. My issue was I need a job.
Right.
And I'll reveal something to you that I've never told anybody, so you guys are getting an exclusive right here. So I had purchased my fiance's engagement ring over that summer.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, cool, I'm gonna make sure that I get this ring paid off. But so many other things were happening to the point where I'm like, man, like this is crazy. And remember my very last live show, I was gonna propose to her on my very last live show.
Right.
But I'm glad I didn't, pushed everything back the way they were supposed to be. So my last semester, I was a mess because I was trying to figure out what am I going to do. But I just knew something eventually was gonna happen. So I gave it my all, graduated on Dean's List, gave myself a going away party for the radio station. And then I said, now let's get into the real world. Next thing I know, I get invited to the Stellars, and I'm like, great, but what's after that? And I get home, and everybody is turning me down for jobs, from radio stations, TV stations, everybody's telling me no. And I was wondering, like, what do I do? And I just prayed, and the Lord told me jump. And I was like, jump where? Like, am I supposed to jump to another city, another state? I don't know. But God told me just jump. And anybody that knows me knows I'm not the kind of person to drag my feet when I know I can do something.
Right.
So I was watching my good friend Jennifer Rodriguez, who, by the way, is the best reporter in Youngstown, Ohio.
She's awesome.
She's the best one. No shots at anybody else, but Jen, that's my girl. Love you, Jen.
Plug to Jen. Yeah, she's awesome, and she can change her own oil and a tire.
Yes.
Girl can do anything.
Love you, Jen.
Love her. We love her.
So what happened was I was watching Jennifer do what's called Real is Rare, and it was a Facebook live series that she was doing. And I said, you know what? I'm going to do my own. So I did the Chris Gunther show. And I said, I'm going to take the show I did in college and just run with it. So that's originally how it got birthed out.
Wow, okay. Well, what about the TV stations around town?
So true story, and another exclusive for you guys. I tried to get into as many stations as possible, locally and nationwide. Like I did the best I could. And there was one station in particular that told me, because we don't know you, we can't help you. And I was trying to get into the sports department, but they told me no. Then I was with another station, and it just was not the right timing. It wasn't the right fit. Things just didn't work out, and we parted ways earlier than expected. But even when that happened, it made me say, maybe that's what you're not supposed to be doing at the moment. Maybe you need to keep doing your own thing, become so good to the point where they can't ignore you. Because a year later, I was in, I want to say it was Cleveland, and I was interviewing Dietrich Haddon. And got a chance to chop it up with him, a good person, like a big brother to me. And he said something on the interview I'll never forget. He was like, man, you working hard. And when he said that, that made me think, you know what, I really am. And a few months later, when Congressman Tim Ryan was running for president and he came down here and was, having like a rally, the same station that passed me up saw me right there covering it.
Oh, wow.
They didn't even want to shake my hand, but they knew that I was there.
Well, that's what I always say. When someone slights you, the best way to get back at them is success, right? And we are having a great time talking to Chris Gunther. Make sure if you have questions, put them in the Facebook chat, and I will definitely ask Chris, and I will let him know what you're asking, or if you want to just say hi. So make sure you're putting questions and things like that in the Facebook chat. I just wanted to kind of say that.
And be sure that you guys like the one-to-one communication that Ms. Jackson also has too, people. Make sure that you like, share, subscribe, tell her I sent you.
Yes, that's my communication company, but we're talking about you. So you began the Chris Gunther Show. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, the Chris Gunther Show is something that I've been doing ever since college, but I wanted to get my own things going because as much as I love rookery still was the umbrella that it fell under. Right. So I'm like, this is great, but I'm no longer there. So I want to do my own thing. So I jumped out on faith and started doing it. When I first started, it was so rough because I did not know how to do it. My tripod was very janky. My mics were just on my phone, and audio from your phone is never good. Had no lights, but I had vision, and I knew I was supposed to be going. Within the first few weeks, it actually became bigger than I thought. Like local people were hitting me up, hey, can you come down here to talk to this person, or can you come talk to this like clergy person? And I was so thankful for it because I'm like, I really didn't know I was gonna do this. And then what happened was there was a chance I was getting ready to do an interview with an NBA player.
Oh, wow.
He's not big, but he was decent. And
he's in the NBA.
He's
so
in the NBA for
than...
crying out loud. So I mean, he's better than us for crying,
right.
You know what I'm saying? But I was getting a chance to do the interview with him, and I was playing 2K video game with one of my best friends. And he was like, look here, bro, if you're gonna keep doing it, you gotta do this right. So my boy goes into his wallet, gives me $100 and says, you need to get you some mic and some lights. When I tell you, I was so overwhelmed because at that time I wasn't working, fresh out of college, trying to find a job, getting turned down left and right. And no knock on anybody who works here, but it's bad when InfoCision tells you no.
Yeah, that's rough.
InfoCision said no,
takes
we're not.
A little bit of everybody.
When they don't take you, something's bad. All right.
No, that's when you know that God is telling you that's not where you need to be.
Yeah, and
that's
I mean,
that's
getting told no left and right. So I wasn't making any money, but I knew I had a vision. So my boy gives me some money, says go get you some mic and some lights. Got my mic, didn't get the interview, but I know I had something now.
Right.
And as time continued to go on, things continued to build up, and slowly but surely, I started to find myself interviewing celebrities in person.
What? Wow. So who was your first celebrity?
My first celebrity was
not in rookery days, in your own Chris Gunther days.
My very first one actually was right here, Youngstown State University's own President Tressel.
Nice.
President Tressel was my very first celeb, and that was so cool because, this is where I started. So what better way than to have your first celeb than the president, who, by the way, is the best president that this, university has ever had. Conversation for a different day. I just want to throw that out there.
Who was your first entertainer?
First entertainer, Jeffrey Golden.
Oh, nice.
Jeffrey, was somebody that, and still is, good friend of mine, big brother. And I had let him know what I was doing. And Jeffrey was like, yeah, bro, I got you. So from Jeffrey Golden to Jonathan McReynolds to Dietrich Haddon.
Jonathan is so nice.
Very nice guy.
I've never met him in person.
Very nice guy.
But just watching him in his interviews and stuff, he seems so humble and so nice.
He really is. And then the next year, 2019 comes around, and I start out with a bang. My first person I interviewed who was a celebrity was MC Light.
Oh, wow.
And it was right here.
Nice.
It was right here.
I love MC Light.
She was so nice. And you want to know something? After the interview I did with her, she looked at me and was like, kid, you're good. I'm like, when the greatest female rapper of all time says you're good, you kind of want to run with that.
Right. Kim Fields told me I was a great actress.
Yeah, I actually reached out to Kim Fields, too.
Amazing. Like, when someone who is acclaimed and you know that they're spectacular says that you're good, then you know you're good.
It's like a wow, like they actually think I'm good?
No one can tell me I'm not a good actress because Kim Fields told me personally, she was like, girl, you go ahead, you act, you're good. I was like, okay, yeah, I got that.
I used to have the biggest crush on her when she was on the show, Well, of
Oh,
course,
Living Single. I'm
Living
sorry, you're not
Single,
old
yeah.
enough to know her on
On Facts of
FTV.
Life?
Yeah,
How old you think I am?
you're not old. You were probably like 6 when Facts of Life was on, or
It was on
2.
Nick at Night. I used to watch it a
Oh,
lot, but
Nick
that's
at
neither here
Night.
or
That
there.
doesn't count. I watched it when it actually came on.
You're
So
right. I wasn't even born yet,
I
so
don't
I'm gonna
even
leave that
know. Yeah,
conversation
yeah,
here.
yeah. Well, we have a couple people who are speaking to you. Daphne Carter, she says,
I know exactly who that
Daphne
is.
Carter Hawkins says, "Glory to God, blessings to Chris Gunther."
Thank you.
And Lauren Hawkins says, "Go, Chris."
Thank
Whoop,
you.
whoop. So you have people cheering you on.
I appreciate it.
That's spectacular because you have a nice following and people who are watching your show. So I asked about, did I ask you your favorite interview? That was my
Not
next
my
question.
favorite.
What's your
Ooh,
favorite
my
and why?
favorite. Now, that one's a challenge because I've done so many of them. Like last year, I actually revealed my top 5.
Okay, what were your top 5?
If I got to go for my top 5 from last year, number 5 was DJ Kid Capri.
Uh-huh.
Number 4, I want to say it was, was it Odell Beckham Jr.? No, he wasn't my 4th.
Odell, you interviewed
I
him?
did. I interviewed
Wow,
Odell Beckham.
that's awesome.
My fourth is slipped me at the moment, but 3 was Chris Broussard. Number 2 was Just Hilarious. Number 1 was Michael Vick. So last year, I can probably say Michael Vick was my favorite. This year,
What about this year? Because you've had some phenomenal
Oof.
people on your show this year.
to God
So
be the
where
glory.
does your show air? Let's first tell that, and then we'll talk about these. He's had some phenomenal people
Thank you.
over COVID. Like this is phenomenal for you.
My show airs on Facebook and YouTube and a little bit of Instagram. The reason why is because social media is the biggest platform that you can have. So I figured, why not use it? So I've been doing it since 2018, the Chris Gunther Show 2018, not from Rookery. But in 2 years, God has blessed me to have over 100,000 collective views. I'm like, wow, I did not see that coming.
How many people have you interviewed over that time? Do you know?
Over 200. I'm over
That's
200,
awesome.
along with covering high school basketball too. So that actually falls under the umbrella. But I'm well over 200. But to answer your question, my favorite interview during 2020. Oh boy, that's a good one. Probably Sinbad.
I'm thinking
Probably
Sinbad.
Sinbad.
I'm like, yeah, Sinbad was good.
Like Sinbad / Tommy Davidson.
Yeah, he was good.
Lunel was so fun. Just Hilarious let me do my first one since COVID, so that was so cool. But Sinbad was probably my favorite one just because Sinbad told me, kid, you got something.
Nice.
When one of the greatest tells you got something, you actually got something.
Right. Who was the most difficult?
Now, that's a very good question. The most difficult, believe it or not, I haven't had any interviews that have been difficult. Trying to get them, now that's difficult. Trying to get them is difficult.
Do you want to share your secret of how you do that or no?
I can share it.
Or share a little bit or?
So this is what I do. I pray about who I should get, and then I take the following steps on how to get that person.
Okay.
So there you go. That's the
Oh,
answer
that's
I'm
all
gonna
we
get.
get.
That's
The
all you guys are
following
gonna get.
steps.
The following
Whatever those
steps.
following steps
There you
are.
go.
I don't know how you do it, but it pops up. Chris is interviewing this. I'm like, what in the world? These are some wonderful people.
I'm thankful for it because, my dad taught me at a young age, if you just keep working, the results will follow.
Right.
And
right.
even in, this pandemic, I've been wondering what was I going to do because I had a lot of things already booked pre-COVID. Like, I'll share this. So the interview I had with Tommy Davidson was originally booked pre-COVID.
Oh, wow. Nice.
I had him booked pre-COVID. I was going to talk to him in person, but wasn't able to because of the coronavirus. So, we had to do it digitally. And I did not want to do it digitally, believe it or not, because I'm like, no, I'll just hold out. But I couldn't hold out anymore. And it was one of the most watched interviews I had.
Did COVID help to get these people a little easier than not? Because it seems like they're home, they're sitting there. Why not?
Believe it or not, it's a little bit of yes and no. Yes, because they're all home, but no, because even when you're home, you're still extremely busy. You got families, or you still have people that want you to do things for them. Because a lot of people I did things with, a lot of them were still actors and actresses and people of that nature. So they're already tied to so many other projects, even with the coronavirus. So believe it or not, I've been rejected a whole lot more during the coronavirus than I have been pre-COVID.
Oh, wow. That's interesting.
Yeah, I get rejected. Let's say, for instance, I have about 10 people I reach out to. I'm going to get rejected by about 8 of them.
Okay.
I'm going to get rejected about 8, so now you only got 2 people left. Well, one of them is going to either do the following. They're going to say, yes, we can do it. You're going to promote it, and then they cancel you at the last minute. So now, boom, now you only got one person left. But that one person could be somebody like Sinbad. It could be somebody like Lunel. It could be somebody like just hilarious. So now you got that one big name, but you just keep building and building and building.
Okay, so I don't know if you want to tell this, but who's the one person that canceled that you wish hadn't?
So
That you had, like you actually had it set up and then they canceled
before COVID or during my entire career?
your entire career.
Okay, so, and I hope they don't get mad at me for revealing
okay. Well,
this.
maybe we shouldn't say it then.
I mean, it's okay. It's part of the business. So he originally booked me. Well, I booked him rather, and then it got canceled. And then he heard about it and he did it. But the person I'm talking about was Dietrich Haddon.
Oh, okay. So he heard it was canceled, but then he rescheduled.
Yeah.
Because he knew that wasn't.
Yeah, and Kenny will testify to this. I used to be so frustrated when I'm promoting every day, promoting every week, and then they cancel on me at the last minute. And they cancel me at the last minute. I'm so mad.
Yeah,
and Kenny would tell me, Chris, don't worry, man. If it's in God's will, it'll come back.
Right.
It was hard for me to believe a lot of times, but it came back, and I was very thankful for it.
That's awesome. So if you could pick 3 people to interview, who would it be and why?
Will Smith, Martin Lawrence, Stephen A. Smith. My top 3. First of all, because
That was fast. You didn't even have to think about that.
Will is my favorite person. I love Will Smith. I love his energy, and I'm the biggest Fresh Prince of Bel-Air fan there is.
Can I tell you something?
Yeah, go ahead.
I met Will Smith and hung out with him.
Man, I wish I could be you. So
I danced at a Run DMC concert that he was performing at.
What was that like?
Dancing at a Run DMC concert or talking to Will Smith?
Talking to Will Smith.
This was pre-Will Smith when he was trying to become big.
Mm-hmm.
So he was a little full of himself.
Oh, a little?
He wasn't really kind.
Oh, man, word?
But I think that happens, when you have a little bit of fame, you're not quite there yet. So it's like, who do you think you are? But he talked to us. He's like, yeah, hey, how are you? But he was very flippant. But I think if I spoke to him now, he'd probably be super friendly and such a different person. Plus, he was a teenager. He was like in his 20s.
So I actually...
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to hurt your feelings that I met him first.
It's okay. I mean, you still met him first. It's all right. So I'll share something. I'll go back to my answer. So I interviewed Terry J. Vaughn. And Terry used to work with Will, and she said he was by far the nicest guy. He was so joyful. He
seems nice.
went out his way to talk to the crew members and the people that would be there. But Will is my favorite because, I'm a big Fresh Prince of Bel-Air fan. I love his story, and I just love how he keeps going. And in my opinion, he's one of the greatest to ever do what he's doing. Martin Lawrence second because Martin is, I think, one of the greatest comedians of all time. His show was phenomenal.
He's hilarious.
And when I did radio, I wanted to be Martin.
Oh, wow.
I wanted to be like Martin. I wanted to be have the Fresh Prince energy, but have that Martin personality on, air. And I can say I did a great job of combining those two, but I was still me at the end of the day.
Right.
People wouldn't tune in and say, man, he sounds like Martin or he sounds like Will. It was still me. And then Stephen A is because I want to cover the NBA. That's my biggest dream. And Stephen A is, in my opinion, one of the best to ever do it. And I love his story because when he was in grade school, he couldn't get past, I want to say it was a 5th or 4th grade education. And the kids in the class laughed at him. And he said, I'm going to remember this. Right. So he goes to, play basketball, gets a scholarship. I believe it was to Winston-Salem. Got hurt, so he couldn't really, play professionally, but he could always write and he could always talk about the game. And from that point on, he continued to do his thing, was working with the Philadelphia Inquirer, and, signs one of the biggest contracts with ESPN now. And I just look at that and say, you know what? I want that to be me. Except I still want to have a hairline. I want to make sure that my waves are still good. It. I'm just saying.
You know that this is on your page.
I love Stephen A. But the brother knows his hairline is doing the moonwalk. But that's all right. It's perfectly fine. I would love to still meet him one day. And I'm just saying, okay, I would love it. I would love it.
That's a little bit much. That's a much.
He's got an outgoing personality. I've got an outgoing personality. The two come together. We both got outgoing personalities. But all jokes put off to the side, though, I would love to do those 3 just to tell them thank you for inspiring me. And whether they see this or not, from the bottom of my heart, it means a lot that I would even be, trying to get them.
Right, right.
And I'll reveal something. There was a chance I could have got one of them.
Oh,
I could have got one of them, but COVID messed everything up. So there
which
we go.
one? Can we know? We want to know. You have people
Well,
wondering.
All right. I'll say this. So Tommy Davidson was on tour with one of them, and
So it had to be Martin Lawrence.
there you go.
Because I don't think the other one, the Stephen A. Smith. Is
Yeah,
that
Stephen
his
A.
name?
So here's
I
what
don't think
happened.
he's a comedian.
So I had Tommy Davidson booked. Him and Martin were on the same ticket, and I know they're friends. And I'm thinking, well, if I can get Tommy, and if I could just hang around a little bit, who's to say I can't get Martin? I just believe Martin would have did it because
Martin would have just walked on in or walked by, or you
I would have. Well, y'all know me. I'm gonna find a way to do something.
Right,
And
right.
I could have went up to Martin and said, I want to do what you do, or the same way that you were on your show when you were driven and ambitious to get on TV, or something of that nature. I could have been doing the same thing. So, especially the fact that I'm a young black professional, he probably would have gave me just 5 minutes. So Martin was definitely one I was gonna try. But I mean, we'll never know.
Right, right. Well, there's still time. I mean, you're a baby, so you have plenty of growth to go, and COVID's not going to be here forever. So
I hope not.
I want to hear about, you said something about you didn't buy your engagement ring back then, and then, so tell us a little bit about this engagement. What did you do for your engagement? And who is this wonderful woman?
Got you. Well,
You have to mention her
I
on
mean,
this
of course,
interview.
you see how fine that woman is. I gotta mention.
beautiful.
Hey, Chanel. But so yeah, my fiance, soon to be Chanel Gunther, next summer. So cannot wait to make her my wife. But I was trying to figure out which ring I should get her, and my best friend since I was like 12 was actually with me when I got my engagement ring. And
Was it a female?
yeah, her name
Good.
is Shamar Golden.
Well, that's good.
Yeah,
That's good. Because
so-
I think men should take a woman with them, not a male with
Yeah,
them.
as much
Because,
as I love my boys, y'all
they
can't
have
come in
no
to get an
clue.
engagement ring. Nah.
Because they have no clue of what we like.
And nah, man, nah. So Shamar was with me as I got it. And as we're looking at the ring, she's like, that's the one. That's the one. And I just knew it. So I held on to it for a year and some change. And I wanted to pay it all off before I gave it to her, and I did. And then I proposed to her on my show. And that was by far the coolest thing. Because, yeah, I could have done the whole take her out to eat, but that's too cliche. I'm not a
Right.
cliche kind of guy. I'm a very, what's the word I can look for? I put it like this. I'm somebody that is going to go all out. And
Right,
I
right.
might be a little extra, but that's just my personality. And the look on her face was priceless. And I'm like, got her.
How'd you know she was the one? Did you meet her in college? Was that part of your college experience, or?
No, so we met in high school, and
Oh,
she
nice.
was a volleyball player. I was a basketball player. She played for Valley Christian, Youngstown Christian, now Valley Christian, and I played basketball for Ursuline. And
Poor baby.
I
You should
mean-
have gone to Cardinal Mooney, but that's okay. Go ahead. I love all schools,
It's
especially
okay.
Cardinal Mooney.
I loved giving Mooney buckets too when we played them, but that's neither here nor
Anyway.
there. So anyway, we played, basketball. I had a basketball practice, and after practice, we stayed and watched the volleyball team. And Chanel was a very, very good volleyball player, and a mutual friend of ours, was talking to me about her. I think a few weeks, prior to it. So we meet, and there are no sparks because I look a hot mess. She looks a hot mess. We both look bad. We just got done doing sports. I mean, it happens. So I see her, I think, might have been like 2 months later at a party, and we danced, and she's been crazy about me ever since.
So can you dance? You must be able to dance.
I
then.
mean, yeah, just a little. I got her.
So how did you navigate dating while in college? Was that difficult?
For me, very difficult, and here's why. Because I wasn't sleeping around, because I had a little money, not a lot of money, but when you got a little bit of money in college, you're trying to figure out, does this person want me because I have a little bit, or does she want me because I'm a nice person? So I struggled with that. My personal life was very rough, but Chanel was somebody that didn't care about any of that. So when we started dating, we started dating at a very rough time in my life. Very rough time. I just lost my grandfather. I was suicidal. I was getting ready to drop out of college. I didn't want to preach anymore. But she knew all of that. And she still wanted to date me. And if you can be with somebody during the rough times, that's the one you want to go with.
Right.
And I knew it ever since then. I'm like, this is going to be my wife. I knew it. But when we went to Vegas, she went with me. And you know, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but sometimes women can be nagging, especially when they have a man that's working and working long hours or trying to do something. And sometimes women can be very nagging. I dealt with that a lot my first year during rookery. I'm
Okay.
not going to say no names,
Yeah, we're gonna leave all names
but
out.
let's just say some of y'all was nagging. That's why you didn't get the ring. Conversation for a different day. Well, what happened was
Excuse him. Just excuse him. Go ahead.
what happened was Chanel knew that I was gonna be out late, and not once did she call me and complain or say something like, "You always out." She was like, "Okay, do your thing. I'll see you when I get back." So we go out to eat. We were at Denny's, and you know, super late at night. Go out to Denny's, and as I'm eating, I heard this voice say, "Look up," and I'm looking up. I was like, and the voice told me 3 times. It was the voice of the Lord. I'm not exaggerating. God told me 3 times, look up. I said, God, why do I keep looking up? And as clear as I'm talking to you, the Lord said, this is your wife.
Wow.
And I was like, got it. Yes. Finally got confirmation. So got the ring taken care of and held on to it and gave it to her when I was supposed to give it to her.
That's so beautiful. And I love her. She's just as sweet as can be.
She is. And y'all pray for her because she said yes to marrying me. You know, she got a lot on her hands to handle. I'm a handful. But I wouldn't have it any other way.
All right, so what are your future goals? What are your future plans? Where are you going from this point on? So you've gone through college, you've graduated, you have the woman, you have the Chris Gunther show. Where does Chris want to go?
ESPN. ESPN or another major network because I don't believe that I'm supposed to be in Youngstown forever. Mm-hmm. This will always be home, and I'll always love home. But in order for me to be who I'm supposed to be, I'm going to have to eventually leave. I'm going to have to eventually branch out.
Right.
But I'll never forget home. It will always be a place that I'll, take with me. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to, come off as someone that's being cocky and being boastful, but I can only state the facts. At 18, I said I'm going to do radio. I was number one until I was 22 and I graduated. I left, freelance reporter, did my own thing, and I continued to build and build. And then I started thinking, well, if I can do this here, who's to say I can't do it somewhere else and have a greater impact? So that is my biggest goal, is to end up on ESPN or another major network and not try to be somebody else, but I can only be me. And, the last time I checked, the scripture said with God all things are possible.
Right.
So as long as I got Jesus Christ, I can't lose.
So as an alumni, if you can give a current TCOM student a piece of advice, what would it be?
Well, I can't say what I was going to say because then I'd call a professor out, so I'm not going to go that far.
Oh, no.
But all jokes put off to the side, what I will
positive.
say is this. Enjoy your time here. It goes by so fast. Don't get overworked because you get an F on the test.
Right.
It's not the end of the world. You're not the dumbest person. Keep pushing. I would also tell them to know what you want to do. And even if you don't know what you want to do, what's something that you're passionate about? What is something that if you're not getting paid for, you would still wake up in the morning and say, this is what I'm going to do? Then network. Get you some mentors. Get you some people that have been down the road that you're on and ask them for some advice along the way. But then be you. Do what you can only do. True story. Somebody told me you're not anointed to preach. As I was here in college, somebody told me that. Somebody also told me your show is horrible. When I was in 8th grade, my teacher, Miss Gallardi, called me and said that you're going to drop out of high school and have to work at McDonald's.
Oh, no.
My high school basketball coach told me you're a stupid MFer and a whole bunch of other things.
Oh, boy.
When I was in college, I was called stupid a whole lot.
Huh.
I said all that to say this.
I never called you stupid, though.
Graduated on Dean's List, was number one for 4 years, have a beautiful woman that's going to be my wife, have an amazing support system.
Right.
And I got all of that here in Youngstown. And I know Youngstown State University played a significant role in that because they afforded me the opportunity to do something great.
Right.
And as a result, I was able to do it. So that's the best advice I would give somebody from TCOM.
You are an exceptional student.
Thank you.
An exceptional person.
Appreciate it.
Because now I've gotten to know you outside of the classroom.
Yeah. And I had so much fun in your class too. I really did. It was a lot of work, don't get me wrong. And a couple of them group projects, when y'all paired me up with some people, I started to be like, come on, I do have to work with this person. But look what came out of it, though.
Exactly.
I didn't make anything less than an A. Thank you so much. I know I put the work
You
in.
earn it. I don't give it.
I definitely earned it, because them A's was hard to come by, dagnabbit, but I still did it. But I had a lot of fun, though. And I hope you don't mind me revealing this, but you also was somebody that I said, you know what, thank you, because people like yourself, Kenny Reyes, Mr. Beverly, Pastor Blake, you know, people like you guys really helped me out, you know, and thank you so much. I really appreciate you. Thank you.
That means the world to me. That means a lot. You're going to make me cry. Is that your goal? All right. So we have a few more minutes. We're kind of wrapping it up. Is there anything that we haven't talked about that you would like to talk about?
Well, we've talked about a lot of things, from my good days, my bad days, to, you know, how come I'm not necessarily on any of the local stations or things of that nature. But one of the things I would like to hit on too is the topic, you know, how do I keep persevering, or why do I keep going? The reason why I say that is because I still feel I haven't accomplished anything yet. I still feel I'm not at the level that I should be. On a scale of 1 to 10, probably about a 2.
But you're growing.
Yeah, growing pains. I've had a lot of people bash me. A lot of people quit on me. I've had a lot of people, you know, literally tell me, you're not going to make it. Like, I'll never forget, I was working a basketball game, and one of the people in this area who was well known for, you know, sports, came up to the sports table and shook everybody's hand except mine. That right there showed me I still got work to do. That right there proved to me I still have to keep going, and I still have to make sure that I get to a point in my life where nobody can say that they don't know who I am.
Right.
And I still feel that I have a lot of work to do. That's why I get up every morning and I'm working. I get up every morning, I'm trying to figure out what can I do, reaching out to celebrities. Even though I'm probably gonna get rejected, I'm still gonna plant this seed, because you never know what can happen. So who knows, maybe before I'm 30, I'll be on ESPN, or I'll be on ABC, or, you know, something of that nature. Do we know that for sure? No. But at least I'm gonna give it my all until I can't give it anymore. Like, I'm still gonna stay up until about 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning working on stuff, or trying to figure out who can I have on my show next, because people see this, but they don't see the work behind the scenes. They're not supposed to. But another thing that I probably should have put in my notes, but I didn't, is last year at this time I was doing 3 shows on my own: the Chris Gunther Show, a sports show, and Chris Gunther's The City, which featured our moderator tonight, guys. Just wanted to put it in. Just wanted to put that out there. I was doing 3 shows last year, and sometimes production for all 3 was in one day. Now, can you imagine the hassle of having to set up, having to tear down, film, record it, and edit all in one day? But I loved it.
I was impressed because we went from your phone being the camera to interviewing me in my office to, like, there was lights and setup, and we were in a beautiful restaurant, and I was like, well, Chris is really doing it.
Thank you.
So I just, you know, it's funny because you always say, well, I haven't done anything yet, but I think that's belittling all the work that you've put in. So a better way to say it is, I haven't gotten to where I want to go yet. Because you are growing, and every step you take is a little closer to your goal. Now, if you're just staying like on the easy peasy straight line, and you were still a student at YSU after 18 years and still at Rookery, then I would say, yeah, you haven't really done much. When you're going to graduate and do something more?
Yeah, and
But
I did not want that to be me at all.
you are growing. And I mean, just a question for you. So we see all these kids today who want to be YouTube famous, but they don't realize the work that goes into it.
Yeah.
Can you speak a little bit on
Sure
that?
can.
Like, can you just become famous overnight on YouTube?
The only way you become famous overnight is if you have some type of product, or you have something about you that most of the time is negative. And then, boom, you become a sensation. But for those small people like myself, it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of people telling you no. It takes a lot of researching material. It takes a lot of wondering, what can I do to better myself? When I first started, you're right, I had a janky tripod and a phone. A few months later, my boy goes into his wallet, gives me $100 and says, you need some mics. And then, and this is how Chanel comes into the conversation. Chanel surprised me with some lavalier mics. And I said, wow. So I have somebody that is willing to sew into me something that's gonna benefit me.
Right.
So now I got mics, and then she also got me some lights. And I said, you know what, I'm gonna use all of this stuff when I go to interview other celebrities so they can see that I'm serious. Fast forward, I started to physically change my appearance. I went from the Nike hat, you know, to the back, sweats, t-shirt. Now, only thing I wear is suit and tie when I'm on camera. Because you
And
have
some
to
of the
evolve.
entertainers have noticed that.
Yeah.
I've heard some of them say, "Oh my goodness, you came dressed. Look at you in your suit." And like I've heard them really admire that you've dressed up for the interview.
True story. One celebrity who is the biggest comedian female, one of the biggest female comedians of all time. I was scheduled to do an interview with her last year. Unfortunately, and remember the question you asked me, who was I supposed to interview, but I canceled. I'll tell you right now, it was, as much as I don't want to call her out.
Well, don't call her out.
All right, I
Don't
won't
say
call
it.
them out, but let's just say they are extremely big time, very big time. That interview probably would have made me go viral, or probably would have built me up, because at that time they were suing a company because of discrimination, and
I think I
I'll
know who
leave
you're
that
talking
there.
about. Wow.
So anyway, I arrived early. I'm suited and booted. I arrived there about an hour before I'm supposed to talk to her, because I want to set up, make sure everything is good. And her assistant tells me she can't do it now. She can only do audio. She can't do visual. When I tell you I was extremely mad, I was more upset than anything, because I'm like, man, I've been working at this. Is going to be the biggest interview of the year by far, and I can't get her. So as she's doing her stand-up, they let me sit in on the show. They put me in like the first row. Well, if you're going to be at the first row of a comedy show, be ready, because they probably going to call
Right.
you out on something. So she looks at me and she said, what's your name, baby? And I told her, she said, the motherfucking journalist. She was like, I want you to know something. She said, I want you to know, because she asked me, like, was I single? I'm like, nah, I got, you know, my fiance. And she was like, man, I was trying to get you some. Well, I can't say what she said, because this is a different platform.
Yeah, don't
but
say
let's just say she was trying to get me something, all right? So we go in the back. They bring me back to her. And the first thing she said was, young man, I want to tell you something. She said, I appreciate you for coming in here with your suit and tie, because it shows me you're professional. You have my word. The next time I'm here, we will do a sit down. And then she gave me the biggest hug and took a picture with me.
Oh.
Yep.
And the next time she was there, did she?
Well, she hasn't been there yet, but let's
okay.
just say I know when people are genuine, and I know when they're just blowing smoke.
Right.
They were very genuine, and I'm gonna get that daggone interview the next time they come to Cleveland. So I'll put that out there.
Good, good. All right, so last 2 minutes. Anything you'd like to say?
Thank you for having me. Thank you to YSU for having me back. No place like home. Thank you for all the love and support that you've shown me the last 7 years. I do not take it for granted, and if I can leave you with something, I'll leave you with this. Go hard until you can't go anymore, and dig deeper until you can't dig anymore. And then find another extra piece of motivation to keep going. Because at the end of the day, if you can go home and say, I gave it my all, then you're good.
True. Good. Those are great words
Thank
of
you.
advice. You have such great advice. So we really honestly thank Chris. We thank you so much
Thank you for having me. No
taking
place
the
like
time
home.
out. I know it's a little different, me interviewing the interviewer.
Right.
We had a little difficult. I had to tell him about that. I was like, it's okay to be interviewed. You are in the spotlight, not me. So, yeah. So how was that? Was that okay?
So much fun.
It was
So
fun to
much
be
fun.
interviewed?
But
So-
now I can't wait to get back to doing my job and interviewing people.
Right, right. So we thank everybody for tuning in tonight to the Alumni Lecture Series. We hope you'll tune in to the next Alumni Lecture Series program on Thursday, November 5th at 7 p.m. Angel Rivera, a renowned fashion designer of bridal gowns. Bridal gowns? You need to have your fiance watch. For Angel Rivera Couture will be the presenter. Angel is a 2003 graduate with a Bachelor's of Science in Applied Science degree in fashion merchandising. So tune in again next week to hear another fabulous alumni from YSU. And again, we thank Chris Gunther
you.
Watch the Chris Gunther show. Look it up. It's phenomenal. He has the greatest people on his show.
I
So
appreciate
thank you so
it.
much.
Thank you so much. Be sure that you guys like and share this interview. Let's push it out because I want to make sure that the people know about Youngstown State, the TCOM department, Rookery Radio. Let's be sure to, show some love to Miss Jackson. Subscribe to One-to-One Communication. I believe that's the correct name.
Yes.
There we go. Subscribe to the One-to-One Communication. Thank you guys for watching. Really appreciate you. God bless each and every one of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.